XRP family, how are we feeling? XRP is on a roll. We're going to talk about Paul Atkins. We're going to get into this new roundtable that BlackRock was invited to at the SEC. I've got a new clip here from Raoul. I got some new stuff from Charles Hoskinson saying that he believes Cardano's growth is going to come from Bitcoin and XRP. I got a David Schwarz clip. We're also going to get into some more information towards the end here about volume and what's actually going on. How are you guys doing? Let's go ahead and get into this. XRP flips USDT to become the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap. Boom. Ethereum, we're about to eat your lunch. We are coming for you, Ethereum. It says SEC Chair Paul Atkins says his priority is to develop rational regulatory framework for the crypto industry. Listen to this.
A key priority of my chairmanship will be to develop a rational regulatory framework for crypto asset markets that establishes clear rules of the road for issuance, custody, and trading of crypto assets, while continuing to discourage bad actors from violating the law. Clear rules of the road are necessary for investor protection against fraud, not the least to help them identify scams that do not comport with the law.
What is the greatest problem right now with the crypto market outside of regulation in the United States? It's scams, right? It's scams because every day you wake up and you participate in this market, you can be scammed and lose everything that you have in your wallet if you make the wrong decision. And that really needs to change, right? I don't see a bunch of people that are investing in the stock market having similar issues with scammers. And so it would be great if the SEC worked with other partners globally to bring a big crackdown on fraud and misrepresentation in the crypto market. But I do like to hear from the SEC, especially the head of the SEC, saying that digital assets are a vital role for the SEC. It's very important for them. And Paul Atkins is going to do what he needs to do. It's also great to see Paul Atkins does have connections back to Ripple, and he understands that technology. And so today at 1 p.m. Eastern time, this has already happened. The SEC is about to host a crypto roundtable with BlackRock, Fidelity, NASDAQ, and more. This is incredible to see some of the biggest players in the industry starting to come in and work with this group. I don't see a path forward where Ripple is not at the table at some of these events and participating with, fellow, multi-billion-dollar corporations in this industry. So here you go. Lock in. This is the big one. This is your chance to make wealth. Listen clearly.
This is the big one. This is your chance to make wealth. And not only can you make a bit of wealth, it's the fastest appreciating asset class in all of human history. So you can catch up really fast. So you just have to get involved and start that journey. But it will level the playing field for millions of people. So my view is it goes from a $3 trillion asset class today to $100 trillion in 10 years' time. So we're only 3% of the way there. And if you put it in different terms, that means there is $97 trillion of wealth that's going to get made.
Yeah.
People are going to make a lot of money, but it's not a few people. It's not like the tech barons or the bankers. This is like, Binance has 260 million customers. Now, you could lift 260 million people change their lives. Okay, that's a big deal. There's 500 million crypto accounts around the world. So you can change 500 million lives. And if you speak to CZ or you speak to the others, they'll say, we want to have 1 billion people, 2 billion people. Well, if you can change 2 billion people's lives, that's a quarter of the world. So it's a very, very big deal. And also it's a big deal because people are getting access to dollars. So the stablecoin thing, I asked CZ about this. I'm like, well, what about stablecoins? He said that I didn't see how big they were going to be. He didn't realize, and most of us didn't realize, how desperate people are to own US dollars.
Yeah.
And so before, to get access to dollars, you had to have access to a big bank and or you could get a small amount of dollars. But normal people couldn't save in it. And somebody in Southeast Asia, they couldn't get access to dollars. And now suddenly they can get it on their Binance app immediately and send it to somebody else, US dollars. That's an incredible change for people. So there's some really big things happening that really changed the world for a lot of people.
So much is said in this clip here. I think a lot of people, especially that watch my channel, understand how important these next 5 or 10 years are going to be in your life, right? A few good decisions today will lead to generational wealth. That's as simple as that. If you pick the right project, technology, company to get behind, and if that company really does go on to revolutionize how value is moved around this planet, your life will forever be changed, right? And if you make 10 million, 50 million, 100 million or more money, it'll go back on you how you can make that money last, right? What are your steps going to happen then? But, I don't believe there's 500 million people in the world that have crypto. I think there's 500 million accounts. And I think multiple people have multiple accounts on multiple exchanges and multiple wallets, right? There's like 6 million wallets in the XRP ecosystem. Personally, I've got 5 or 10 different XRP wallets. I'm sure, if you have an app on your phone, if you have a Ledger, if you have a Treasure, if you have a Coinbase wallet, whatever it is, you're going to have a lot of wallets too. So there only might be a few million people globally that will be impacted by XRP. That is not a big number of people at all, but it's coming. All right. So this is David Schwarz answering a question about where he believes will drive the value on the XRP ledger in the next few years. This is Apex 2024. They're about to do Apex 2025. I'll have some clips from that. Let me play this.
But our first question is around, really what's going to be driving value to XRP, particularly kind of around the cross-border and sort of more like enterprise payments and financial use cases.
Yeah. So you guys can all see the question on the screen. I think the big thing that's gonna keep XRP like in its central role is its privilege placed on the XRP ledger. XRP is the only token that you can pay transaction fees in. It's the only token that every account can receive. The payment engine during pathfinding always looks for XRP liquidity first, and XRP is auto-bridged through the order book. So XRP liquidity is sort of preferentially taken over to other types of liquidity just from order crossing. So XRP is always going to have a special place as a sort of liquidity tool on the XRP ledger.
But our first question is around, really what's going to be.
Let's keep it going here. A few other things. This is really interesting to hear Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, tell us what he believes will drive adoption in the Cardano ecosystem. And I was shocked when I heard this, but listen up.
When we look in the next 5 years, our big area of growth is likely going to come from XRP and from Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because we can do things for them, and that's a win-win. And when you add that together, that TVL is going to be 4 times larger than Ethereum and Solana combined.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Love to hear that. Anytime that I can, XRP Ledger or Cardano can do better than Ethereum, I'm all about it. I just don't think Ethereum is the technology that it used to be. I think, there's so many layer 1s, so many layer 2s that outperform Ethereum's. Anyway, let's keep going. Remember, if XRP is a higher value, it will increase the value of the solution because it increases liquidity on the network. With a higher value, XRP can convey a higher value than other cryptocurrencies. Says when XRP was over $2.50 per token at the beginning of 2018, Chris Larsen, Ripple's co-founder and former CEO, was among the richest people in the world due to his shares in XRP. Further, if XRP has a higher value, it will increase the value of the solution because it increases liquidity on the network. With a higher value, XRP can convey a higher value than other currencies. It looks like Matt Hamilton in 2018 said that. And then you also have, when you take a look at the bigger picture globally, you are starting to hear the same thing from all of these people who are in the know, right? This is the time you must be paying attention. Check this out.
Bitcoin is the greatest distraction from the greatest disruption that is coming to financial services. I think AI is probably the other big disruption there, and there's so much noise around a lot of things like FTX and others. But if you bring the technology down to its core value, it does 3 things. One is it allows a payment mechanism. Number 2, it allows smart contracts to be programmed into the token. And 3, because it's a general ledger, it has a source of truth.
The greatest distraction we have right now is people believing that Bitcoin is the answer to financial freedom. Obviously, if you take a look at what Bitcoin can do compared to XRP or Cardano or XDC or XLM or Algorand or HBAR, it is not even a close comparison, right? We're talking about the new financial system, and we're talking about, on the other hand, with Bitcoin, a collector's item. Because that's what basically it is, right? It's a store of value. They're not even trying to sell you on Bitcoin's technology anymore. Have you noticed that when you listen to somebody who's a Bitcoin maxi, when they're talking about Bitcoin, do you notice the change in it? It went from this is the technology of the future to it's a store of value. And that is what they go to as their, tried and true. It's a store of value. Okay, great. Gold is a store of value. Silver is a store of value. It is easier transferable. But when it comes to financial services, banks, payments systems, stable coins, tokenization, real world assets coming on chain, debt coming on chain, all of it. You can't do it on Bitcoin. Not going to happen. 7 transactions a second. The high peak of Visa is like 50,000 transactions a second. Okay. Obviously that's a very high peak. Visa usually stays between like 3 and 5,000 per second, but it can go if it needs to. And I think that's what we're going to, see how, if the XRP ledger can scale into those, that transaction volume, I believe it can. South Korean retail traders are piling into XRP and Doge, a sign of returning risk on sentiment among speculative traders. So people are starting to pile in. And also this is Korea. South Korean traders love XRP. Love you, South Korea. All right. XRP is the most traded cryptocurrency on Korean exchanges. Here is XRP, Doge, then followed by Ethereum, and then followed by Bitcoin. Korean people understand that XRP is the true value when it comes to blockchain. And then here is is this a clip? Oh, excuse me. I thought I had there we go. Code-based evidence links XRP to ISO 20022 and Swift. This is something from years ago, right? This was code database into, I think it was like a GitHub where you had, XRP next to Swift codes and things like that. This is not something new. This might have been through the quarter documents, right? Researcher Smoke has provided code-based evidence that demonstrates how XRP integrates technology with ISO standards and Swift financial messaging network. The evidence is supported by 2 images, each displaying specific code references for RippleNet and R3 Quarter. Yeah, this is nothing new, but people love to recycle things like it is brand new, but all good. Something to go over with you. There's a link down in the description for Join Kryptonaires. Come in for a 7-day trial. If you want to stay up on all of this news before I bring it out here on YouTube, if you want to know what I'm investing in and moves that I am making, Kryptonaires is the place to do that. We have a new special price for you guys. So go ahead and take a look at that. I'll see you guys. Aloha.